Day 2 began with a presentation of a video on the activities of Day 1. Following the video, two participants, Mr. Nilanka and Ms. Ugaldenia, made brief presentations on the learnings of Day 1 of the capacity building course. In the first technical session of the day, Mr. Rajdeep Mukherjee presented an overview of the trends in global and regional marine fisheries. He said that archaeological evidences showed that humans were even fishing at the dawn of civilization. However, concern over fishing and fisheries management was of a very recent origin. Globally, this concern stemmed from the worsening status of stocks in the wild and stagnating production, which in turn has been affecting fisheries' livelihoods, food security, and potentially trade benefits.
Asia by far having the largest fishing fleet, so about 75% of the global fleet is in Asia, and most of them, about 60%, are motorized. So more motorized fishing fleet means more pressure on the stock, but that is also the means of developing the fishery. If you want to go further into the sea, if you want to catch more fish, you need to make the technological upgradation. But again, what's happening that as the stocks become stagnant, the catch becomes stagnant, the recent evidence shows that this level of motorization of fishing vessels all over is becoming also static.
Mr. Mukherjee said that fisheries development in the Indian Ocean region started late after the independence of the coastal nations, and hence the Indian Ocean was relatively healthier. However, it is also approaching limits and further scope of increasing production is limited, said Mr. Mukherjee. Following Mr. Mukherjee's presentation, the participants were engaged in an exercise to draw a timeline depicting development of fisheries and aquaculture in Sri Lanka since the early 80s. The timeline will provide an overview of the significant developments in the country and their bearing on the sustainability of the resources. The participants were then requested to draw this timeline during the day as they required more time for consultation and writing down the developments. Dr. Yugraj Singh Yadava delivered the second technical presentation on issues in marine fisheries. Beginning with an explanation of the word issues, Dr. Yadava elaborated on the types of issues in fisheries, both intra-sectoral and cross-sectoral. He then moved to the global platforms such as the Committee on Fisheries or COFI, where issues are discussed and solutions arrived at through mutual consensus. Dr. Yadava also explained the issues that are affecting the sustainability of fisheries resources in the Bay of Bengal large marine ecosystem. The percentage of stocks fished at biologically unsustainable levels has also increased from 10% in 1974 to 33.1% in 2015. So what does this mean? It means that more and more fish stocks are now being fished at biologically unsustainable levels. Effort is more. Fishes are not being given time to, grow to a certain size and then breed. They are being captured at a size, where they have not even bred for the first time. So more and more stocks are now being fished at unsustainable levels. And benefits from trade are unevenly distributed along the value chain, with small-scale fishers receiving proportionally smaller economic benefits than processors or retailers. This again is a sort of universal situation. It is in Sri Lanka, it is in India, it is in most countries where the actual harvesters get the minimum percentage of the rupee. A larger percentage of the rupee is taken by the middlemen or the retailers. Concluding his presentation, Dr. Yadava requested each participant to write one issue that she or he considered as the most critical issue affecting fisheries in Sri Lanka. In his talk, Basics in Marine Fisheries Management, Dr. E. Vivekanandan presented definition and objectives of fisheries management, principles of fisheries management, various management options, role of stock assessment, and management options in data poor situations. He explained the process through which fisheries management system could be made functional. He also briefed the participants on options of various management measures under input and output control measures and potential outcomes. Whatever the management options be, stakeholder acceptance and their engagement through a management process was essential, Dr. Vivekanandan said.
Having said that, the fisheries from the tropics is very unique in the sense that we have several species, several gears, and so it becomes really difficult to manage a fishery because you cannot have a common, in several temperate countries, you have very limited number of species, maybe 10 species you will have, and also very limited number of types of craft and gear. So you can have 2 or 3 types of management measures and say that you reduce this or you improve this or you industrialize. So like that you can manage the fishery relatively easily compared to the fisheries in the tropics where we have multi-species. One species will be in a very advanced stage of exploitation whereas the other may not be. And so there are different craft and gear combinations which adds to the complexity of fisheries as well as to fisheries management.
Following the presentation, each participant wrote down one management measure that she or he felt was important for Sri Lanka. The participants then matched the issues they had written earlier with the management options. This turned out to be an interesting exercise. In the post-lunch session, the participants divided into 3 groups and each group was assigned to work on an issue and provide management solutions to address the issue.
Start.
1, 2,
3,
1,
2,
3,
1,
2,
3,
1,
2.
3.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. The first group was tasked to work on reducing post-harvest losses, the second group on optimizing fishing effort, and the third group on improving MCS functions in the fisheries sector in Sri Lanka. Working on color cards, the three groups made impressive presentations. In the final task of the day, the three groups suggested how a co-management process would help achieve the management objectives.
Then other thing is in our group, detailed future access to needed. First, compulsory cooling facility on boats. For example, RSW or CSW.
We are going to introduce new process because we know that 55,000 around all together boat in Sri Lanka 2017 statistics. But we are not using 55,000 boats because registration already registered but 56,000, but we are using only 30 or 25,000 only fishing.
Stakeholders we have identified as government authorities. It includes all the government governors with the relevant parties and fishermen of fleet owners, as well as fleet producers, researchers, as well as policy planners. In the process, first as a planning stage, we have to establish a co-management unit including representatives of all the stakeholders.
Our topic is improving MCS functions. Under that, we identify the problem as unavailability of rescue operating system under the Ministry of Fisheries Aquatic Resources for the fishers who faced any disaster at the sea.
So we are happy that all the three groups made very nice presentation, and we are also happy that gradually you are coming to grips with the issues, and you're trying to analyze and you're trying to think and make these good presentations. So I think today we will conclude the day's proceedings now. Tomorrow also in the morning session we have three presentations. One talks about threats to the critical ecosystems and vulnerable species. The second presentation is on how to improve the economic performance of marine fisheries. And the third presentation would be on how to move forward towards ecosystem approach to management. So pre-lunch, these three presentations will be there. And after lunch, we will put you in a group exercise on the ecosystem management plan. How do you develop an ecosystem approach to fisheries management plan? And then the last part of the day tomorrow would be a test. Okay, then thank you very much, and then have a nice evening. See you tomorrow. With this, the day's proceedings concluded and the participants returned to their hotel.